What is happening, guys? Welcome to episode 2 of Cooking with Mr. Nguyen. Today's episode will feature me making a Japanese dish. I'm going to get the little hot pot out of my drawer here. And here it is. I will be making a Japanese dish that I haven't had in a long time. I have not had this in a while. It's called Nabe. And it's basically, it's basically like a Japanese hot pot. And so that's what I'll be doing. And let me show you guys the ingredients here real quick. So I'm going to be putting some sliced pork belly in there. I've got some tofu, 3 types of mushrooms. I've got this Napa Cabbage, if you look at it. I am going to put some hot dog pieces in there from Hebrew National, and a little Costco deal right there. And of course, the best part, the kimchi soup base. And it's all gonna go in here, and I'm gonna boil it until I want to eat it. And so, actually, it turns out that the best type of mushroom they didn't have at the grocery store this morning. And so, at first I was a little disappointed as to why they didn't, as to the fact that they didn't have any. But then I read about why they don't have any. And it turns out that that particular mushroom was recalled on April 17th of this year. And for the reason why is because there was a listeria infection in that type of mushroom. It's called the Enoki mushroom, and it's really good. It's really good in this type of soup. And so, 4 people unfortunately have died from that infection. And in this day and age of social distancing and such, the last thing we need is more of that going around. So I'm okay with them not having any. Speaking of social distancing, please always wash your hands. I try to keep my hands as clean as possible whenever I'm working on stuff. A Japanese dish. I haven't had this in a long time, and actually, I'm probably doing this out of season. This is really a winter kind of thing. Like, eating this with short sleeves is probably not. It's kind of falls right on there with jumbo shrimp. And so, I learned about this dish when I was a teacher in Japan. I was a teacher there for 3 years. Really fun time. Oh, crap. Really fun time in my life. I'm actually going to, before I even prepare the soup, I'm going to fry up the tofu a little bit. Because in my experience, if I just put the tofu in and just let it boil, it gets kind of soggy and it gets kind of hard to eat. So, and I like tofu. So I'm going to do that. I've actually never pre-fried the tofu before putting it in the soup, so I'm hoping it turns out okay. If it's anything like what happens in the Vietnamese soups that you do this in, then it's going to be fine. But yeah, I figured this would be a good time for me to tell you guys a little bit about my time in Japan. Within these episodes, I'll probably make another Japanese thing at some point also, so, Japan was a really fun time in my life where, it changed my life a lot. So I don't even know where to begin. I was a junior at San Diego State University taking an anthropology class, and it was this Japanese society, and I really was a big nerd at the time, even though I was in denial. I loved Japanese cartoons. I loved video games. You guys see my classroom; it's loaded with Final Fantasy and stuff. But I really liked it, and I thought it would be really cool if I could go to Japan. Because I just really liked everything about the culture. So I took a Japanese society class as a upper division elective, and it was a lot of fun. The professor was he was kind of like a long-term sub. He was a professor at San Diego State, but he was not. I don't think he was in the anthropology department. I think he had taught in Japan for a long time, so they kind of just put him in there, just because he had experience and knowledge of Japan, and so they just kind of put him in there. And in the class, it was really cool. We watched a lot of movies, including a really, it's not really my type of movie, but it was a Japanese movie called Shall We Dance, later on adapted by Richard Gere and Jennifer Lopez. But the Japanese version I thought was better. It's just more authentic. But it was a fun class. But I remember on the last day we had people come in from this program called the JET program, and they told us about teaching in Japan and stuff like that. You could teach English. And I was a junior. I couldn't apply at the time. But by the time my senior year rolled around, they held a recruitment fair at one of the buildings at San Diego State, and I said, hey, why don't I just apply for it? I got the letters of recommendation for it from my professors, applied for it. I drove up to LA for my interview. It's funny, I got the job, but looking back on my interview, it's pretty cringeworthy. And but hey, that's kind of how I got it, and I ended up moving there. It was supposed to only be for 1 year, and then I was going to come back, but it ended up becoming 3 years, and then I was so moved by the teaching experience that I decided to just come back and become a teacher here in the States. So anyway, that's enough rambling about that for now. Let me show you guys what I'm doing. While I was rambling to you guys, I cut some tofu, and I cut it into little pieces like this, and I'm going to take it outside. I'm going to take this tofu, I don't know if you can see that. I'm going to take this tofu outside, and I'm going to fry it until the ends become yellowish, and then yeah, I will probably fry it outside on the grill. You guys saw the grill from the last time I was making pizza, and yeah. So why don't I get that all ready? I'll do that. And so yeah, no, Japan. I made a lot of friends there. It was quite a fun time. It was very, very fun. I liked it a lot. A lot of fond memories from there. I'll share a few with you as we're going through. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grease this thing up, and I'm probably using the wrong pan. I should probably use the other one now that I'm doing this, but that's okay. So grease this dude up a little bit. It's going to be not a deep fry, but it's going to be enough to get the ends yellow, and then I will take you guys out to the grill again. And we are always out on the grill. Always out on the grill again. Here we go. Yeah, this is my garage, by the way. Yeah, my garage. All this stuff in here. Let me see here. Let's take you guys out to the backyard. One of these days, I might give you guys a tour of the backyard when it's not nighttime. And you guys recognize this area well. This is the grill. I'm gonna unsheathe him. Oopsie. Unsheath the grill here. You guys know the routine. This time I'm going to open up the pan right here and activate my propane tank. And then, let's see if I can angle this correctly. Do this and fire them up like that. Okay, so I'm going to start frying some tofu, and I will be back as soon as the tofu's fried. Okay, here we go. I think we're almost done. Here is the tofu, and a couple things to notice. Yes, it's yellow. It's yellow around the edges, and I also had to change the pan because, unfortunately, the non-stick quality of the other pan was actually, I'm gonna call BS on that one. That was actually a disaster, and so go fire off. Let's go ahead and propane tank off. Okay, let's bring this guy back in. Here's the tofu in the light. And so yeah, so here's the thing. Say hi to Bartz again from Final Fantasy V. Bartz Klauser. I actually never played that game, but he is my strongest physical attacker on Final Fantasy Record Keeper. So I use him in another game. All right, so let's go ahead and put this guy here like this. Excellent. All right. So I'm gonna go and put the tofu down here. I'll probably have to remove the tofu from there so that the oil doesn't soak back in. Give me a second, I'm going to pause this real quick. And I'm back with the tongs and with a bowl. Time to get this tofu out of here and put him in here. I'll reuse this bowl in a second. I'll use this bowl actually to eat my nabe out of. So yeah, Japan, fun time in my life. I really enjoyed it. It Made a lot of good memories there. I was there from 2005 to 2008. I was 22 years old when I left, 25 when I came back. You know, I had a lot to learn about life. You know, a lot to learn. You know, my first time living away from my parents. You know, I didn't go away for college, as you guys know. I went to San Diego State University. Before that, going to community college, I lived at home the whole time. Here we go. Here, check out the tofu right there. And yeah, no, it was. You know, I don't regret that decision at all. But yeah, no, living on my own in Japan was actually really fun. I made a lot of good friends there. Notably, the best friend I made was a guy named Phil Bennett, and I go visit him periodically. Maybe, you know, I try to do it once a year. I don't know why I'm opening that. I try to visit him once a year if I can. I'm gonna put this guy away. He's gonna get in the way. I try to visit him about once a year. He still lives in Japan. He got there a year before I did, and then he still lives there. He works at, I believe it's Kanda University. He works there as a curriculum advisor, and actually his site, I'll even post it in this link. You can check him out. And he's a pretty well accomplished guy. He ended up getting his master's a few years ago, and you know, he and I got along very, very well. You know, we were both sociology majors. I think he went to, I forget where he went to school. Stony Brook? He's from Long Island. So, and so we were both sociology majors. We were working together at the same high school, and yeah, no, we became really good friends. And so, so yeah, I try to visit him once a year at least. No, not at least, but like about once a year. It's a lot of fun. Okay, so how am I gonna make this? So check it out. Now that I'm here, this is the Napa Cabbage. Now, my personal favorite. I love grabbing the ones that are extra green. The greener they are, in my opinion, the greener they are, the more flavor they have. And so I'm gonna wash this thing off, but first thing I'm gonna do is I'm going to probably slice this dude in half like this. And then that thing that's sliced in half, I'm gonna slice them in half again. I like making as many like small little triangles out of my cabbage here. Look at how I can smell the flavor. When the lettuce is like super whitish, you know, there's not a whole lot of flavor in it, and so I try to keep this thing as flavorful as I can. I really like this cabbage here, and so what I'm gonna do is I just cut it down like that. Now remember, these are going to be boiled, and so what happens is that they shrink. So don't cut them too small, and then usually, unfortunately, like this little back end right here, I'll just chuck it because it's just kind of, you know, I try not to waste food, but there are pieces that I'm just really not going to be able to salvage. Again, like this little end right here, goodbye. Sorry about that, dude. And now that I'm at it, let me go ahead and find a way to rinse these off, because it's important to rinse off these vegetables. I have my cool little salad spinning deal here. So I will put these guys here. Put them in, and I'm gonna cut, I'll probably put about half of it in there. Now the other half I'll save. I'll probably end up eating it later on, because this soup broth, like algebra, does go a long way. And so I'll probably end up putting more in tomorrow when I have leftovers with it. But from here, here's what I've got. I'm gonna do that. I'll rinse them off. Rinse them off really good. Get all the leaves nice and thoroughly rinsed off here. So yeah, Japan, it was a lot of fun. I mean, honestly, like, you know, I worked at a high school for my first year. I was god awful. You know, I was 22. You know, the seniors of that class, most of them had older siblings who were older than me, so I didn't really garner a whole lot of respect that way. You know, go figure. But also, you know, when you're 22, you have a lot to learn about how to be, you know, how to be a person that people can relate to. And so, so I worked for a year at the high school, And then within that time, I gained a lot of experience. It was but teaching English as a second language, I don't think it's for me, to be honest. I mean, honestly, math is a lot more interesting and fun, I think. And one thing that I would like to try though, I would like to try this at some point. If I do go back to Japan again, and I have the opportunity, I would love to sit in on like a Japanese calculus class just to see what it's like. How do they deal with like optimization in Japanese? It'd just be kind of neat. I'd love to see that happen. Okay, so what's next? Okay, green onion. Green onion's great. I love green onion. 49 cents right here. It's a pretty good price. I'll only need one. I'm gonna save the other one for next time. So let's go ahead and take off these rubber bands here. Green onion is good. I used to not like onions when I was a kid, but I like them now. It's funny how your taste buds change when you get older. But yeah, I'm just gonna rinse off these onions right here. Look at that. Oniony. And so again, hack off the ends. Sorry guys, I would rather not waste food, but goodbye. Okay, so now from here, how do I want these onions in here? I probably want to be able to grip them, so I'm not going to dice them. I'm actually going to cut them into things that I can grip with chopsticks or something. So I think I'm done with that. I will not cut anymore. Now actually, as I do this, in order to make space, I should probably start putting things into the pot. And so how do I do that? Let's see here. What's going to go in first? The meat. The meat, which is this thin sliced pork belly right here, that's going to go in first. And so let me go and pull out the deal here. Undo you, and I'll go and just throw the whole shebang in there because once I'm done with the meat, then I just kind of goodbye to plastic. Unfortunately, I don't. Okay, well, no way to do this. I'll wash my hands after I'm done. So let's put the meat in, and then I'll show you guys the phases on how this goes. Okay, the meat goes in. Try not to waste anything. Wasting food is one of those things that I really kind of take a solid stance against. I don't agree with wasting food, so I try to, anything that's on my plate, I'll just eat it. So here I go again, wash my hands. Guys, please, when you're dealing with raw meat, please wash your hands. You don't want to inadvertently get yourself sick by being unthorough, and just try to keep the area around you clean. You never know. I mean, there was a few years ago where a restaurant was shut down for an E. coli outbreak from their salad, and people are like, what? How do you get E. coli from salad? I thought you only get it from raw meat. Well, basic SeaWorld training 101. Some moron put the uncooked meat on the top rack above the raw vegetables. And of course, there's this universal, well, it's not really universal, but there's this earthbound concept called gravity, which, accelerates at, negative 9.8 meters per second squared. And the person had the meat like here, and the salad is down here. Well, the blood just dripped down, and dripped down into the salad. And of course, as you guys know, exponential growth, bacteria just exponentially grows inside of a refrigerator. People got sick. So when you're dealing with meat, try to keep the area nice and clean. All right, here come incoming with the lettuce. Now I'm going to try to keep this as nice looking as I can, but I think at the end of the day, it's not going to look so nice, but that's okay. So I'm just going to put it in. I'm going to put it in a circular formation here. That's just kind of how I choose to do it. Now, bear in mind, I'm kind of rusty at making this. I have not made this in a long time. The last time I actually had hot pot was in New York. I was visiting Mr. Kurth, and we went to a Korean barbecue that had a double in hot pot, which was kind of cool. I liked it a lot, especially their dessert. It was pretty good. And oh wait, is that true? No, that's not true. I had hot pot in Taiwan with my wife. What am I saying? I forgot about that restaurant. Yeah. So just kidding. It was a hot pot restaurant in Taiwan with my wife. That was the last time I had hot pot. Hot pot's good. Again, it's a little bit out of season right now. I don't I wish that this was like, I wish this was a few weeks ago, back when it was still cold. Like there was a period in April where it was really, really cold, and I was like, wow, this is awesome. I love cold weather. But yeah, so this will be, I'll show you guys the phases of this. All right, so I put in the meat. The meat is buried underneath the cabbage, but I think you can kind of see it. It's underneath there somewhere, kind of. So if you move it out, there you go. See a little pink thing right there? Little pink thing right there. That's the shredded pork, sliced pork right there. And then yeah. So from here, I'll go and throw in some green onions. Throw in some green onions in the center. Now it looks like I'm about to run out of space, and that's because I am. But that's okay. I don't have to put everything in here. And so, like I said, I'm going to save some of this stuff for after the fact. Maybe find a container for those green onions. Let's see here. Let's use you. Let's put you in here. And like I said, there will be plenty of broth. I will make more of this tomorrow. I got to throw some tofu in here too. Maybe I'll throw like half of my tofu in here. It's good. Take out a little bit. And of course, a lot of this stuff, like I said, it shrinks like crazy because I'm gonna boil the living crud out of this lettuce, or out of this cabbage. So, so no worries there. What else do I gotta put in? Oh, I'm going to put in one of these types of mushrooms. Mushrooms are really good. I like the mushrooms that go into nabe. I like them a lot. Again, I really do prefer the Enoki mushrooms, but I'll settle for these. Yeah, I remember a lot of times making this in my apartment in Japan. It was so neat. This was actually a really good meal to have if you had a lot of miscellaneous stuff that you just need to kind of throw together. And I would just be like, okay, looks like, I've got so much left over. Okay, nabe time, let's do it. And it was easy to make. You just kind of, once all the ingredients are put in there, I just let this thing boil for a little while. And so I'm going to get rid of you. I don't know why I don't like this thing. It's kind of gross. Oh, that was not good. I missed. Damn. Okay. That was not optimal. It's not optimal at all. Okay, so let's put some mushrooms in here. And maybe I'll save one of the mushroom types. Maybe I won't put it in just yet. Maybe I'll put it in the second serving. This will be a 2-serving course, just to let you know. I will eat a little bit of it, and then once it's all gone, then I will put something else in there, which is from what I learned, that is the Japanese way to do it. Of course, I am an expert on very little, and so I just do what my friends told me to do back when I was living there. Okay, cool. So here we go. Let me show you what it looks like now. So here we go, right? Some mushrooms, some green onion in the center, tofu all around. Okay, we're almost there, you guys. We are almost there. I am now going to, I'll put these last little mushrooms in. Don't forsake them. You will be eaten. Sorry. Okay, so now I'm going to throw in some of these hot dogs here. And again, like I said, sometimes I'll use nabe as a bit of a scapegoat for like, hey, I have a bunch of leftovers. What do I do with them? Let's just get rid of it by eating nabe. So that's kind of what those hot dogs are there for. Now, actually, when I was living in Japan, I used to put Japanese sausage in there, and it was good. So the Japanese sausage at the markets here are pretty good too. They're actually very good. They're identical. But I do have these from when I was grocery shopping last time. And so might as well just use them. So slice there and then cut it down. Now, sausages or hot dogs. I'll probably just cut maybe like 2 or 3. There's 6 in here. Yeah, I'll throw half in now, half in next time. When I was an elementary school teacher in Japan, I had to teach English to a bunch of little kids. And you basically become like a Sesame Street character or someone like that. And I remember having to teach them through all kinds of ridiculous things. Like there was this song that we had to sing. there was a song we had to sing, and it went like this. Like no joke. It was like this. I would have to stand in front of the class, and it would literally go. There would be a tape, and I'd be like, 10 fat sausages frying in a pan. One went up and another went down. 9 fat sausages frying in a pan. One went up and another went down. And just down the chain we went from 10 all the way down to 1. And I would do this thing like 6 times a day. And, you know, there are a lot of things that I've done in my career as a teacher, both in Japan and the U.S., that you know, are that are ridiculous. But I will say, I think that singing that song right there in front of those kids, and they loved it, but singing that song in front of them could actually be one of the dumbest things I've ever done. You know, as a teacher, and I'm not saying that like as a complaint against the Japanese school system. It was fun; the kids got a lot out of it. But that was probably like me looking like a fool the most, more so than when a kid asks me about like Lagrange error bound, and I don't really know how to answer the question. You know, is that singing that song in front of all those kids, and so yeah, so there you go. That's a little taste as to what I had to do. Okay. Now you guys have all gotten a nice little laugh at my expense. Let me move this bowl. All right, we're almost there. Here we go. Bam, kimchi base soup. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna clip this dude at the top, and then I'm going to try to pour as much of it as I can in. Now I used to have a pot that was bigger than this that could actually hold all of the juice. I don't think that's going to happen this time, especially how full I've made this thing, but I will cross my fingers. Cross your fingers too. Pray that all of it is going to fit, and you know what? We have a winner. It all fit. In fact, maybe that might not even be enough. Oh no, it's enough. It's enough. It's plenty. Because this stuff is gonna shrink like crazy. That is a good smell right there. I like that. This kimchi base right here. I actually was not. I was a little worried about it when I first moved to Japan, but I had it for the first time, and damn, that stuff was good. So from here, I will close up the lid. I will pray that it fits, and it does barely. It does barely. But remember, this stuff's gonna shrink, so it's all good. It's a little heavy. Put it on here. Move this tofu bowl, and after this, I will ignite the fire. On fire! And turn it down to about halfway. So it's gonna do that. It's gonna sit there for a little while. And it'll probably take about maybe 20 minutes for it to get boiling. And then I'll let it boil for a while. My indicator is this little hole right here. When I start seeing steam fire up out of there really, really quickly, that's when I know that this thing is almost done. Or actually, it will be done. So we will revisit each other in about 20 minutes. And yeah, we'll see you then. Okay, we are back. It's been about 20 minutes. Now, look at that steam right there. See that steam? That steam is good. Now, if you look closely, you see how it's kind of bubbling on the sides right there? That's a good thing too. Now, in between the time that it was cooking, I totally forgot. I had to put these in there. I only put one. They're super, super hot. But they're really, really good. And it's not a Japanese thing. Those are Thai chili peppers. But I bought some when I was in Japan when I first made this. These are not from Japan, but I bought them when I lived there, and I put them in, and it added a really good zest to the nabe. And so I liked it a lot. And just remember, whenever you cut these things, please make sure you wash your hands after using them, and do not touch your face after cutting these. I made the mistake once of cutting these red peppers, and then suddenly, oh man, I got an itch in my eye, and my right eye was on fire for a long time, and it sucked. So please don't. Safety first, as always. Okay, let's see what this guy looks like. I had to lower the heat a little bit, and it looks like this. Check that thing out. That is some good stuff right there. So like I told you, the stuff shrinks a little bit, so I'm gonna go ahead and put them back on. Put you guys back down right here. And yeah, that's hot pot right there. And so I'll put them at the lowest heat possible. That way the stuff stays warm. Remove the lid for a little bit. Mmm. Good stuff. Okay. Now, actually, the idea of hot pot, you can put whatever you want in it. I personally like to put those things in it, but generally speaking, the bases are going to be the soup base, the mushrooms, the green onion, and the cabbage. But whatever you want to put in there after the fact is entirely up to you. Like I said, I often used it as a way to get rid of leftovers. When I had a bunch of stuff. So I'll scoop some out. I'll show you what's in my soup. Some cabbage right here. That's good stuff. Tofu, mushrooms, a couple of sausage deals here. Yeah, that song. 10 fat sausages. I mean, I'm sorry you had to listen to me sing it again. You know, I'm not exactly up there with Donkey Kong in terms of my singing ability, but you know, hopefully, you know, I didn't make you guys go deaf or make your ears bleed with my singing. So let's go ahead and scoop. And yeah, I'm gonna scoop some of this stuff out of here. Like I said, I really like the lettuce or the cabbage. It's really good, really flavorful. Tofu. By now, the tofu will have absorbed a lot of the broth's flavor, which is great. And so here we go, and here we are. I'm gonna put this dude in here. Ow, that's a hot sensation right there. So let's see, let's show you what I'm gonna eat right here. Look at that steam right there. Look at that steam. Let's go ahead and put this guy. I have a hard time aiming the camera, but yeah, there we go. That's what it looks like right there. That's what I'm gonna eat. Now, if you want, you can take some of this. I can't believe I bought this much, but this is called ponzu. It's a citrus flavored soy sauce, and let's smell this thing here. I might put some on there first, but in a little bit. But I'm going to try some. I'm going to try some right now. I've got my chopsticks here. I got my soup spoon here. All right, so I've got to let this thing cool down for a second, and just, you know, like this is really, really hot. So you can understand why we eat this in the winter. In Japan, while I wait for this to cool down, let's chat you guys up for a little bit. In Japan, in the winters, it can approach, you know, in the, you know, mid 20 degrees, you know, Fahrenheit. That was, you know, in the negatives in Celsius. Man, I would remember just, you know, sitting underneath my table with a blanket on, and eating this and watching episodes of 24. That was a good show, man. Kiefer Sutherland playing Jack Bauer, you know, stopping, you know, terrorists that are trying to, you know, blow up Los Angeles. That was a good show. I liked it. Very intense. I think it changed modern television, but I really liked it. Or, you know, I'd invite friends over. We'd have Nabe parties. It was a lot of fun. Mine was always the spiciest, so people either liked it or they did not. And we would just watch movies. Like I remember, you know, like Phil would come over from time to time, and we, you know, we would just make Nabe, and then we'd watch reruns of Star Trek, and it was a lot of fun. And I'll even include a picture of him, you know, in this video. That way you can see him and me, when we were younger. And it's just a lot of fun. A lot of good memories surrounding this food right here. Food, I think, is a good way to kind of like relive certain memories. And gosh, this thing is so hot. I think I'm gonna burn myself eating it, but I'm gonna eat a mushroom real quick. I'm gonna try some. That is a hot sensation right there. And eating this would just warm me up right away. It was a lot of fun. Spicy. So let's try some of this flavorful green cabbage. And a piece of tofu. Excellent. excellent. And so, normally, what we do is when all of this is out, when all of the ingredients are done, like the cabbage and all the meat and stuff like that, what we'll do is we'll put udon in there and boil up the rest so that it eventually kind of like absorbs into the noodles, and we just eat Nabe flavored udon. And I'm probably going to do that in part 2 of this episode tomorrow night, because there's definitely going to be leftovers. You see, I cannot eat all of that within one sitting. That's just not possible. But this is super good. It's super easy to make. If you have one of these little pots at home, grab it. You can even do it on a regular pot if you want. It doesn't have to be one of these guys. But it's super easy to make. I highly recommend eating these, especially in the wintertime. It's a great way to kind of just hang out and eat good food. And so, yeah, I hope, I guess I'm going to get to eating this. I'm going to watch some Law and Order in a little bit. That's kind of my show right now. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I certainly enjoy hanging out with you guys. And as always, please feel free to leave comments or questions in the comments area.